Well, I'm very lucky to be able to be part of the Brisbane Roar, and as part of that, we've got to welcome our two new, I was going to say members, but our new COO and our new CEO
Well, we're
and
members,
chairman.
Hinksy.
Well,
Fans, members,
Fans,
yeah,
members, first and foremost.
yeah,
first and
that's right. Well,
foremost.
Kaz Patafta and Zach Anderson. Guys, look, coming into the club, obviously, Zach, you were a fan for a long time as a kid, and then came to the club and, then ended up playing A-League as well. And Kaz, you were quite known for playing against us, and Ange, watching you very closely. Kaz, run us through what it was like playing against the Brisbane Roar, particularly during that time.
I was saying to Zach just the other day, the fond memories I have was that coming in and playing against the Roar was always a tough game because you'd come into a bit of what I like to say the fortress at Suncorp. It's always, there was always a buzzing atmosphere. There's passionate football fans, and so you'd sort of turn up and you'd come under the stadium in the bus, and you sort of the away team. And you just start to feel it, and you think, geez, this is going to be a tough one today. So they're the memories. But I always love playing Suncorp, and I know speaking, I was just telling Zach the other day. So that's the atmosphere we want to bring back. That's the type of passion we want. And we're so glad that games are going to come back to Suncorp this season because we just can't wait to get the teams out there.
It is such a great stadium. Zach, you used to come to the stadium as a child in that orange wig and, supporting the club. What's it like for you now, having gone from being a supporter to being the chief operations officer of the club?
No, it's really exciting. But just going back to what Kaz mentioned, it does give you goosebumps, and it does make the palms sweaty when you're walking into Suncorp and you see 10,000 plus coming to support the Roar. And I remember coming as a young fella with the orange wig, listening to you and announce games and get the crowd up. And from very early on, we had such a connection with the Brisbane community. And then as the club developed and we had some competition locally, those rivalries were fantastic with Gold Coast United, with North Queensland Fury. But for us as a new management team, we understand that there's such an importance to reconnect back with different parts of Brisbane. We just want to get that feeling back, that energy back. And I think that being a young management team with fresh ideas, new perspectives, when we can dive a little deeper into that. But we just want to really push that energy back into the club and just lift the wind under the sails and take this club to the next level.
Well, fans are an exceptionally important part of that. I don't know if you guys know this, but there is a record that the Brisbane Roar holds at Suncorp Stadium, and that is the loudest it has ever been.
Yeah, right.
And that was that goal that Eric Partaloo scored in the 2010-2011 grand final.
Unreal.
And that still holds the record. It's beat State of Origin, beat all the concerts and everything there. So that's something, that's special that the Brisbane Roar holds, particularly at that stadium. And our fans, the Brisbane community, the Queensland community that are part of that, they made that happen. And that's the culture that we really want to get back to.
Yeah, that's right. And I know it's easy for us to say one thing that, fans are so important, but we genuinely know that because as players, that's what you play for. You play for that atmosphere. So to be able to have the experience of going out in the ground at Suncorp, both Zach and I, and now have that different perspective from the boardroom or from whatever we want to call it, from behind the scenes. I want to get that vigor, that passion, that energy behind the Brisbane community again, to bring us back to that type of event. I remember that goal specifically, and it does not surprise me one bit, Hinksy, that the Raw fans have produced that record. I know we've got some of the most passionate football fans and fanatics out there, and I know that they're hungry to see those types of goals again and those types of crowds and that type of football. So we're definitely aware of it, and I just think it's a process to get back to that type of level. But we need the support, we need the fans, and they're such an important part to this club.
The thing I love about what you guys, having had chats with you guys, offline sort of thing, the fact that you really want it to be one club. It doesn't matter what anyone does with the club. Everyone brings their little jigsaw piece to make it a great atmosphere, and the behaviors, the values, all that sort of stuff. But everything all comes together to create one big team.
Well, that's the beautiful thing about sport, Hinksy, as you know, it's bringing cultures together. It's about bringing, you know, diverse cultures, different people from all walks of life together to just enjoy and be entertained. And I think that from a match day experience, we really want to improve on the product. You know, the football is the main piece, but you know, we're really challenging ourselves from an administration level to think differently, to really, you know, and you're a massive part of that as well from an announcements perspective. You know, we really value your contribution to really help us to bring the you know, that fan experience. So, you know, from a club perspective, you know, there's so much we can do, you know, and we're not here to try and say that we're focused on doing it all. We're very aware that it's a step-by-step process, but we have fresh ideas, we have new perspectives. We want to be a modern progressive football club. You know, we want to be respected by our peers, stakeholders, club, you know, fans, community, as a modern progressive football club. And a big part of that is really taking that match day experience to another level. So I can still see Eric Parlew just running towards that corner flag after scoring that header, being at Suncorp that day. And you know, that's where we've got to get back to.
I remember when he came off the field, he came up, gave me a hug after that game, and I swore at him. And he goes,
Yeah.
"What was that for?" I said, "For taking so long to score that goal."
No, he's a good
I've
player.
got goosebumps just talking about
Yeah,
it.
it's
I
quality.
mean, that feeling is just, there's nothing like it. And I think that's so unique about the game, because just those moments, those special moments that you capture. And I think for us, you know, there's a lot to work through, but like Zach said, it's about giving that experience to the fans and to the members and to people that support the club. It's allowing them access, allowing them in to understand what it's about. What does the engine room look like? How do we actually build this team? Who are the players? What are they about? What are they into? What do they stand for? And I think if we can try and open that or bridge that gap that possibly hasn't been there, you know, it will just allow the fans a new insight into why they love Brisbane Roar. It's not that the passion isn't there; it's just reinvigorating that, and that's something that we hope we can help out with and bridge.
But
You must be. Go, sorry,
Hinksy, just touching on that point, I think what's really interesting is a lot of clubs talking about family, like a family club, right? I think it's thrown around a lot, but what's missed is from a club perspective, we really want to bring the fan on the journey with us. You know, it's not just match day. We don't just want fans to come to match day and watch the team play, because that's just one part of our week. You know, we all dedicate our lives to following a team, supporting a team, working for a club. And so for us, we really want to, from day one, bring everyone on the journey, you know, and that is why we want to do these podcasts with you. That is why sorry about the lights. That's why we want to do IG Live. You know, we want to do things a little differently because we want to communicate. We want our fan supporters community to understand that we're going to go through ups and downs. That's the beautiful thing about life and with sport. But as long as we communicate them when we're transparent, I think that people will appreciate the honesty. And I think that's the beautiful thing about sport, is that there is triumphs and there are moments where you have to rebuild. And I think that the really important message that Kaz and I want to portray is that we want people to understand that we really care about this club, and we really want to be honest and upfront with where we're at and how we're going to move through this process and this journey. And you know, it may take 6 months, it may take 6 years, but we're going to get there.
You know, I think the fans are really going to appreciate that as well, with the openness and the availability of you guys doing things like Instagram Live, and just being available to ask their questions and stuff like that. Like, I think, you know, like you say, you're a younger management team, but I don't think that really matters, because, you know, you've got great ideas, and, you know, moving forward, and you've got the passion. And I think, you know, when the people at the top have the passion, it's literally it flows downhill, and everyone can feel that excitement and wants to be involved in that excitement.
Yeah, that's the aim. And I mean, it's not something that we'll shy away from, because I think it's important, and it's just part of us to have these conversations and to allow the fans to have a voice. And some people are going to be upset about, you know, past events. Some people are going to want to have their say, and we're open to that, and we're happy with that. And we'll listen, and we'll do our best. And you know, we have to work within the realms of what we've inherited as well. And I think that's not a message that I want to dwell on, but that's just the reality of the situation, Hinksy. You know, we're not coming into this completely fresh. We have to rebuild upon what we've been given. And there's some challenges there, but there's nothing there that we know we can't overcome. And definitely with the personnel that we've got, I mean, there's such a great team in the office. There's a fantastic, we've got a fantastic coach in Ross. We've got a fantastic A-League women's coach in Gareth. We've got Owen in there in the youth setup. So, I mean, the foundational structure's there, and we've spent time with each of these people, and we'll spend more time as we go to get to know the personalities and what they're trying to achieve. But, I mean, Ross is doing a great job. We had a great preseason over in Harvey Bay on the weekend. And, I mean, to see some of the young players come through, I mean, it's just fantastic. So the passion's there. We love it. And the thing is that we're football people. So this isn't a job to us. This is something that we just live and breathe this, and we just love seeing, this. I mean, we just want to be a part of this journey with everyone. So hopefully we can get the support from the fans and also the playing group and also the staff in the office.
Well, let's talk about that, because obviously when it comes down to, the football side of things, we do have our 3 teams, but grassroots and getting those fans through and identifying that talent young, that's an important part, and having that pathway so that they can play in the A-League men's and women's teams.
Yeah, no, this is something that Kaz and I have spoken about a lot, and this is something that we need to communicate really well with our supporter base and communities. That over the years, historically, Brisbane Roar has kind of had a little bit of let's be honest, a bit of a fracture between the local clubs, FQ, and the professional game. And Kaz and I believe that a lot of it just comes down to poor communication. At times probably thinking we're bigger and better than everyone else, and it's completely not true. We're a community club, right? We play at Suncorp. We're very blessed to be able to play at such an amazing venue, but we are driven by the very same things that drive an NPL club or a local club, and that is local community support, junior involvement, sponsorship, and Kaz and I have been proactive over the last week just to reach out to those sponsors who have been through some pretty difficult times with Brisbane Roar, but they're still there, they're still with us, and we're so grateful and appreciative of that. But going back to the pathways, for us, it's about how do we work with local clubs. It's not it can't always be a take relationship. And I think over the years, Kaz and I have seen that Brisbane Roar and other professional teams just want to take the best talent after the local clubs just spent maybe 10 years developing the talent. So there's a fracture there. And so for us, it's about how do we value add? How do we work with local clubs? Is it providing coaching support? Is it by providing an incentive if the player can move on to us and then potentially move on and there's some sort of financial benefit there? So there's a lot of, I guess, creative ways we can work around it. But the most important thing is, how do we work together? How do we work closely together with the FQ? FQ is such an important stakeholder in what we want to do, and that relationship's been fractured over the last couple of years. And Kaz and I have been proactive with reaching out to the key executives there, just to I guess give them confidence with how we want to progress this club, and let them know that we truly value the relationship with the governing body of Football Queensland. So we've got a lot of things to do, Hinksy, but as you can appreciate, we're working through them step by step. But that connection from local grassroots football through to the NPL, that pyramid coming through, we have to see that funneling of the best talent coming through to the professional game.
One thing I obviously listened to you speak in person. One thing I really liked that both of you said, and it was in that press conference when we announced that you were joining the club, and that was, you don't just want to make great players, you want to make great people. And I think that as a basis standing is just a fantastic statement. You don't hear a lot of that from sports clubs.
Yeah, it's a really big aspiration for me to be able to create the environment that creates good humans, because I think that is going to be the core building block for us as a club, is to make sure that we have the right personnel, the right people that believe in the vision, that believe in what we're doing, because that's the only way that you're going to improve. And unfortunately, the nature of that is that not everyone is going to be able to come on that journey, because for whatever reason, and that's fine. But it's about nurturing all the people in the organisation, not only the players, but the staff. And we've got such a great young team with great ideas, and I want to see them all shine as well. So it's really about how do you sort of create that environment that just balances out, so that in the end, if you don't take anything away from being a part of the journey with Brisbane Roar, at least you come out of it with some good set of values and you take that into whatever you may do. So that's really, a key element. But of course, at the end of the day, we don't forget that this is a results-driven business, and we want Brisbane to be successful. So it's about finding that right balance, because we need winners as well. And Zach and I hate losing. So, we're not here to participate in these in this league. So that's still a passion that drives deep inside us. So, I'm definitely not going to say that we're going to shy away from not wanting to win big trophies, and I think the fans want that as well.
It's funny because both of you have played against us in professional football, but now coming in as administrators, it's a question that I think a few people have asked, and it's, what was that point in your career that you went, you know what, I want to run a club, and I want to run it like, using the statements and coming into our club and making good people, winning, making great football, having great pathways and all that. What was that moment in your career where you just went, you know what, that's what I want to do?
Yeah, it takes time, Hinksy, and I think for myself, I was so dedicated to being the best footballer I could possibly be. I just didn't have the maturity to really think about anything else. I just was so dedicated to trying to get the most out of my career. But once you get to that point, you start thinking about other things. Most footballers start thinking about coaching, start thinking about being an agent. But for me, it was always, I loved the business of football, and you could go a little bit more broadly and say sport, but for me, my passion was football, always football. And so I knew quite young, as soon as I finished the game, that I really wanted to start doing my time after leaving football to prepare myself. And just like Kaz will mention, we studied and we watched the game, and we saw what people were doing really well, and we saw that where people weren't in clubs and administrators weren't doing things so well. And we kind of just went through a process individually, and we would come together at times and discuss, just as colleagues and as friends, different ideas that we would bring to football clubs. And I guess for us in this position now, we don't have, I guess, the perfect answer. We're going to make mistakes. It's going to be a bit of a journey, but I think that the important thing for Kaz and I is that we bring different skill sets. We've been a part of the game. We've been in the change room. We've lost games. We've won games. We've travelled. We know what it feels like to travel on the road. And that goes back to your comment before about building great people. Like, we understand the hardship that partners go through when you need to when your partner moves from interstate or moves from overseas. We want to look after our foreign players, make sure that they settle in and they come accustomed to Brisbane culture, and they understand the language. So all these little 1%ers, we understand from a football perspective, but on the other hand, we understand the business of how to drive a football club, and for us, we've got some fantastic ideas, but now it's about execution.
Yeah, Kaz, what about you? What was that moment for you?
Yeah, mine was very clear, and probably there were some similarities with Zach, but mine sort of really started at a young age, and I know the specific time was when I was playing at Newcastle Jets and contemplating what to do next, and that's what most players, you sort of come up to this point every sort of year or 24 months into a contract, because most of our contracts these days are running over that period of time. So it's a real dilemma for every player, not only in the A-League, but globally, because, it's a short-term career, and it's something that you devote every single, waking minute or hour into being successful. And as part of it, there's a bit of luck, there's a bit of things that have to go your way in order to be successful. So for me, it was very clear, and there was that crossroad after Newcastle Jets, and I knew what I wanted, and it was this moment of being able to lead an A-League club, specifically an A-League club. It wasn't about thinking beyond Australia, because this is where I was brought up. This is where I came through the system, and this is where I feel most comfortable and where I can make an impact. But I knew that to do that, it's going to take a big process, and I'd have to step away from the game for a considerable period of time to get enough experience outside of football, from more of the executive / corporate side of running a business, and understanding all the intricacies and the complexities with managing the business aspects of a club, not just having the understanding of what a football player goes through, but the understanding of what would, a CEO in this position have to do. So I always knew that there would be the ability to present an interesting proposal to any type of club, because of the unique aspect of being able to come from the game and understand what the players are going through and what the players need, but then also understand what the shareholders and the board need to be able to push a club forward and to run it sustainably. So that's where we've sort of landed, and it's been a long process. And I know from the outside in, and for the fans and the people that don't know us, it may seem like this is a bit of a, an interesting decision by the ownership to sort of to bring in a set of younger executives, so to speak. But I can assure you, it's a long time coming, and each and every step of my legal career and the journey outside of football was always focused on this opportunity. And it wasn't a matter of will it happen, it was just the right timing. And I think right now it's just a perfect time for it, because the club is in a situation that it's no secret. It needs refreshing, it needs rebuilding, but it needs energy from the top down. It needs people that are dedicated to drive this forward. And I believe we're the right people to do that. And like Zach said, there's going to be challenges. There'll be mistakes along the way. We've been in there 7 days. I've probably, for 3 of those days, I've probably made all mistakes for 3 days and maybe 2 good days. But, that's part of the learning process as well. But I'm genuinely say this, that I sufficiently believe that we have enough of not only the energy aspect, the knowledge aspect, the experience aspect, but we've also got good people around us. So, we've got a good advisory team around us, and these are people that Zach and I will lean on throughout the process. And these are people that we've come across throughout our journey. And these people are not just in Australia. These people are people that I've come across in my experience playing in Europe, and people that are running the football game at such a high level globally. So these are the experiences and the people that we want to learn off, because, it's still a learning journey for us as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm so confident in being able to see the vision for the club. It's just a matter of execution, and that's the key aspect for me, is about how do we execute, who are the right people to execute, and then bringing in those standards, building a strong foundation, and the rest will start to evolve. And I'm sure that the fans will see the changes as we progress over the months.
It's interesting you say that, because obviously mentors are very important, and at every level in football, from like yourselves as administrators right down to brand new players. Find yourself a mentor, someone who is going to help get you into that area, or provide you with that great sounding board to get you to where you want to go. And I think, like in any career, I think that's great advice.
No, absolutely.
Absolutely.
No, Hinksy, we and that's why it's great to have Kaz as our CEO and chairman, because every day I'm bouncing things off him. I'm in the office today, speaking to Sean, our marketing manager, about ideas. I'm learning things off Sean. This is the beautiful thing about sport, is that I can go down to the football pitch, and I can have a conversation with the footballers, and I can relate stories with them and talk to them, and they understand that I get it, right? So it's just having a connection with people, and at the end of the day, we're just human beings, and that human connection is so important.
Now, recruiting for the club, obviously we're looking at strategic recruitment. What's the philosophy that you're going to be looking at in the upcoming season, and just for the future of the club?
It's very simple, and I'll let Zach dive in a bit deeper, and maybe it's important that everyone sort of understands our roles as well. So Zach, and the reason that we're sitting in these positions is Zach will oversee more of the communication strategy, the football strategy, whereas I'd sit a little bit more in terms of the business strategy and financial strategy of the club. But what I can say about the recruitment process, it's so critical to us, and it's something that we believe deeply in, is that every recruitment decision has to be made objectively. It's not about one person anymore having a subjective view, and that's the issue that we've seen in football and football clubs. It's a great thing because we all share different opinions. We all see something different on the pitch, but something that we want to instill, and it's so important when you're running a club, especially with strict financial budgets that are in place, that you recruit based on objective facts, objective data. But also it's important for us, before we pull the trigger on any player that's going to become important to the club, is to know that that player is going to fit into the philosophy of the club. And like Zach said before, if it's a foreign player, can they adapt to Brisbane culture, not just Australian culture, but what will they understand what it means to play for Brisbane Roar? And that's what we want to find. So there's so many elements to the recruitment methodology that Zach and I have, and I'll let Zach sort of dive a little bit deeper.
Yeah, no, I can run you through, I guess, our process, Hinksy. But there is a strict process. I think what's really important to articulate is that, we don't just watch a video, or we don't just, get a call from an agent and make a decision on a player. It is a team effort. It's a round table discussion. These lights are going off again. But it's really important for us to actually go through that process, and that starts with objective with objective data and analytics. That is, identifying that player and understanding, what is the character of that man or woman. Is that person going to really fit into the DNA of our football club? It's one thing to be talented from a football perspective, but we really need the right characters, and that's really important for us to, subject to, the age of the squad. Are we bringing in a senior person to mentor? Are we bringing in a younger player to come through? And then it comes into a roundtable discussion. We've got some amazing football brains within this organisation, and then a big tick off is from the head coach. At the end of the day, the player has to fit into either Gareth on our women's side or Ross's philosophy of football. So the head coach has a big play in that decision. But for Kaz and I think what's really important is, going back to this discussion around player recruitment, is that it has to come back to our DNA as a football club. And for us, we have to be very clear that we want to be seen as the club that nurtures and develops talent and really gives Queensland boys and girls opportunity. And that doesn't mean we're going to shy away from overseas talent. It doesn't mean we're going to shy away from New South Wales talent, because, if there's a really, really talented Western Australian boy or girl, of course we want them at the Brisbane Roar, but we also really want to be seen as having a core group of Queenslanders, and really giving boys and girls across Queensland an opportunity to play professional sport.
But that's also witnessed already. Just as you guys have taken over, we've got players wanting to come back to the Roar, like Matt Acton, like Alex Parsons. They started their careers here, and obviously, have gone through the ranks, and now they're coming back to our club.
Yeah. No, we're having even more discussions as well, Hinksy. Yeah. There's a lot of discussions at the moment with Queenslanders who are reaching out to Kaz and I every day about excited about the vision, excited about the energy that's come back to Brisbane Roar, and we're very appreciative that these Queenslanders have reached out to Kaz and I and said, hey, I'm keen to be part of this journey with you. Maybe it's not now, but let's talk in 6 months, let's talk in 12 months. So Kaz and I want to make it clear that, there's not going to be 22 contracted Queenslanders, but we want it to feel like a Brisbane team. We're a Brisbane club. And I think we said this in our presser. We want to play in Brisbane, train in Brisbane, work in Brisbane. And that's been lost over the years. And I think that we'll see that come back this year at Suncorp.
Obviously on the Fraser Coast, we had the teams playing up there in their pre-season. What reaction did you see up there? We've done it before, but this year particularly, we got a fresh new coach, and everything's kind of starting to roll in again ahead of the first weekend of football in October.
Yeah, I was up there on the weekend, and I was blown away by the support. I had a good chat with the mayor of the Fraser Coast Regional Council, and they love having our club come and visit them. And we had a discussion about bringing the women to the Fraser Coast next year. But they really, really support the Brisbane Roar. It's fantastic to see in those regional areas that support. And when we did a signing session about an hour and a half before the game, that line was probably 250 metres long. The squad was up there for 3 days, and the facilities were fantastic. So from a partnership perspective, it was incredible. From a pre-season bonding experience, amazing. And then just to get to a game, play on a fantastic pitch, and then give the Wide Bay boys an opportunity to play against professional footballers, and just see them kind of just embrace a challenge and just play 90 minutes against professional footballers was fantastic to see.
And some of those, young guys that were playing against our, raw players, they're their idols. They're the people they look up to, who they can see themselves emulating, in the years to come.
Yeah, and it's important for us to get out to these places as well. Just like Zach was saying, I mean, Fraser Coast was a great example for the men's team to go out there for preseason. It wasn't just going out there. I mean, I know that from the feedback that I got, Ross put on a really good preseason camp there. The boys really loved it. We got really good feedback, and the game was obviously really good. But it gave us a chance as a club to get our key sort of people around there. We had a head coach out there. Zach was out there. So, we're not just there to show up. We're there to obviously see what they're doing on the coast. And I think having that select team and being able to play against them, if that's something that we can continue to do, that just shows that we're genuine about, the possibilities of pathways. But I think one thing just to circle back on when we talk about Brisbane Roar, and preseason tours and looking at the Queensland region as a whole and wanting to develop players, I think one thing that's important to Zach and I is just to make sure that we come back into this core foundation of Brisbane. We are here representing Brisbane. We are the Brisbane Roar. So that's key for us, first and foremost, to make sure that our team, as Zach said, plays in Brisbane. We train in Brisbane. Our office is in Brisbane. And then we want our fans to know that that's where the core that's where our heart is, heart and soul. And of course, we're going to be looking Australia-wide for the best talent, but we really want to bring as many Queenslanders, but also Brisbane boys and girls through the system.
A question from the fans today is, do we have an update on Ballymore and the Brendale training facility?
I can start with that. So yeah, pretty clear. The Brendale communications with Moreton Bay Council have been really, really good. And Zach and I have sort of been able to have a couple of discussions already in our first 7 days. So they've been very positive. What we are seeking to do in the next couple of weeks, or hopefully quicker than that, is to finalise the terms, finalise the commercials around that. And again, when the MOU was signed 3 years back, I believe, there's some important functions around the deal there, and there's some important functions around the agreement, and a lot of it to do is with how much community support we will bring as a club, but also it's really about empowering our women's team. So Brendale is really about the ability for us to showcase our A-League women's team, to give them a really strong brand new facility, and I think Moreton Bay Council is a fantastic place for that to happen, but the Brendale facility is state of the art. And with the Women's World Cup right now, I mean, women's football is just taking off. So the key message about where we're at with Brendale is that will be the high performance centre for our women's team. And it will be the base for us, hopefully, to continue to develop the community programs, but also the youth academy. Where I think there was some confusion previously is, where does the A-League men's team fit in? So is this going to house our whole environment? There's still some discussions ongoing. And I mean, admittedly, it would be fantastic for us as a club to have the one environment for every single player and staff member. But that's something that we're still working through. So that's, it's more so about us being briefed in the last 7 days, having some initial discussions, but, being upfront and transparent with our fans that Brendale is likely to be our women's team centre of excellence. We are also keen on pushing our discussions forward with Ballymore. And the reason for that is Ballymore brings something very unique to the fan experience, and that's the boutique rectangular stadium experience. Now, there's still a long way to go in relation to the plans of Ballymore and how that sort of fits in with Brisbane Roar. But I think the key component here is there's nothing like playing in that type of atmosphere where you got fans close to the ground, a pure rectangular stadium. You're in central sort of Brisbane. So I think there's a lot of positives that can come from these discussions with Ballymore, and we want to push these forward, and we want to let the fans know what's going on. But Zach, I mean, this is ongoing. I think you're out there today looking at the facilities and things like that.
Amazing facility. The QRU have done an amazing job in terms of starting to develop Ballymore, and like Kaz said, we'd love to work more at these boutique stadiums just for that product, that especially with the game day experience. I think that some of the some of the conversations we had today around food trucks at Ballymore, 5 to say 7,500 at Ballymore, both from a men's and a women's perspective, we believe that would put on a great atmosphere and a great show. But from a training-based perspective, it is a priority for Kaz and I over the next week or two to make sure that both our men and our women have bases, and they're not training at too many facilities. We don't want band-aid solutions. We want our men and women not to live out of suitcases. We want them to have a home. We want them to feel settled. And it just goes back to our past. Being footballers, we understand how important that is. So we're focused on it, and we will be honest and transparent with how things are progressing. But like Kaz said, Brendale looks to be the facility for our women, and we're ongoing discussions at the moment about our men's program.
Women's World Cup obviously on at the moment. It's an exciting time for football, particularly in Australia. Like just last week, it was the other day, 44,000 people.
Amazing.
At a football match to support
Unreal.
our Matildas. It's a great time. Obviously, we're moving into the A-League season. How can we capitalize on that and bring those fans and go, hey, we do that here with our people week in, week out over that spring, summer, autumn period?
I think it's more of this, Hinksy, and it's obviously being able to show the fans and give them some confidence that there are real changes happening and that there's going to be exciting football being played by the women's team, but also by the men's team as well. And that we do have exciting young talent coming through, but we've also got some exciting signings that are going to come. So it's a mix of a few aspects on the field. But as Zach said, it's the importance of us really driving a product, driving entertainment. And that's what the fans want. And the Matildas and the Women's World Cup is an entertaining event. I mean, there's just so much buzz, and I think people are, can't wait to see some of these games. I mean, there's such exciting football being played, and the Matildas story, what a story! I mean, that's such a great group of girls that have really been shining in the last couple of years. I mean, they're superstars, and that's what we want to do. We need to create the character. We need to create the personalities that people want to come and watch. And part of that is about the communication, is about letting the fans in, letting the fans have access to the players, getting to know the men's and women's team. And I think that's been lacking in the last couple of seasons or years. And to drive that excitement again, it's not about a strategy or trying to drive something to people. It's about the buy-in, and it takes time. But the best way we can sell anything or explain the vision is to actually get that message out. And I think there's no better way than these types of discussions, letting the fans know who the players are, letting them in, letting them understand where we work. I mean, IG Live today is probably the first time most fans have seen The Office, and Zach was showing everyone around. So
I was going for a little tour of Hinksy just to say, hey, listen,
I was watching that.
This is where we work every day. Come into our world. Let's not have separation here.
Yeah, and so you're right. I think it's absolutely important because you've got players on the men's and women's teams that fans absolutely love. Like week in, week out, the young fans that I talk to at the home games, they love Jess Lofthouse's hair. They love the cheekiness of Henry Hoare. They love the skills of someone like Katrina Gorey, and they look up to those people who are playing in the Matildas now. We've got so many of our current and former Raw players who are playing for the nation's women's team. It's just, we have got so much going for our club. And I think, like you guys say, get on the bus. Let's get that bus orange and let's get going, because we've got a season coming up and it's going to be pretty epic.
Yeah, no, same page. It's about communication. It's about energy. It's about and this is the thing we were discussing before. From a league perspective, we see teams come out and see all these crowds come. We see the FA have done such a great job to really hero piece the Matildas and really drive their story, and that that's done through documentaries and individual heroes and role models to young girls and boys. And for us, like we take that responsibility as a football club. We know that that we have such an important role in Queensland, being the only professional club, and that's not, again, that is absolutely to say that we are no bigger and better than anyone else, but we take that responsibility, and we want to really drive that message home that we it's such an important part of our business and our organization to just to be authentic and to connect, and to be truly Brisbane. And I think the fans will see that over the next couple of years.
Okay, I've just had a question here. We got TV shows like Wrexham United and Ted Lasso and stuff like that. Could we see a Brisbane Roar kind of edition? We're going to push some boundaries.
You're gonna be Ted Lasso, Kaz, are you?
Mate, look, I think you have to dream big, and I think the fans,
100%.
at the end of the day, we want to be a leading club. We want to be, as Zach said, we want to be the most progressive club in the country, and why not? Let's all dream big together. But why can't we be the next Wrexham story? Why can't we be?
Yeah.
What's stopping us? And I think the only limits you put upon yourself are the limits that you place upon the club. And I mean, I was listening to Ange the other day, and I thought he had some great comments about the questions that come to him about when he's gone into a league, what are the goals he sets? And I remember him saying it when I was young as well, but he said it and reflected in a Tottenham press conference. And I think it's something that sticks true to our values for Zach and I anyway. But he sort of said he doesn't set goals because goals kind of limit you. What is your target? If you set your target here, maybe you're putting a ceiling on what you can really achieve. So I think it's the same for Brisbane Roar. I mean, we want to think big. We want to think bigger than ever. And maybe that's crazy, but I think we'll be doing everything we can to make sure this club's on a bigger scene, not just the Australian scene, but world football.
How can we push the boundaries of the APL?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think that the APL is such an important stakeholder in what we do. But I think that the interesting question, Hinksy, for us is that from a product standpoint, I think people forget to appreciate sometimes how good our football actually is. Right, we have some very talented players and some incredible matches. Right, and I think that there's a really important part here just to really understand that sport is entertainment. Kaz and I go back to the product. APL have gone on their own journey over the last couple of years. They're still growing as an organization. They're working out what works. They're trying things, and I think that's really exciting. I think Denny Townsend would be the first person to say that there's been ups, there's been downs, which we appreciate. But again, I think it's just being honest and authentic with the supporter base in those challenges. And I think that together, Kaz and I have had some great conversations with APL about their plans for the future and their focus on driving their digital strategy. And we've seen that with the All Access, the success of All Access and how important that is to just take fans behind the scenes and show the human, show what happens in the change room, show the heated conversations. And for us, I guess, as an important part of the APL, we want to be, a major contributor in doing something different, not just going along and doing the same old thing that every other club is doing, but that Kaz and I are challenging ourselves to think differently, and that comes in a lot of different aspects. I think that how do we look after our sponsors? How do we look at our digital strategy? Jumping on IG Live. How do we move the way that we look at jersey culture? I think that's something that we're really interested in. Like I remember growing up and wanting every single Broncos jersey because Brisbane Broncos jersey because I loved the role models in rugby league, and I had every jersey every year. So how do we make our jersey a hero piece every single year? So there's so much we can do, but that is working collaborative with the APL because they're such an important partner and stakeholder.
I've still got my Hinksy jersey from
exactly
those days. So
that's probably it there. The old Hinksy.
Literally, it's signed by the first two grand final winning teams. So
amazing.
It's a pretty special thing for me. You mentioned sponsors, and obviously in the first 7 days sitting in the chair, you've announced Outcast. Have you already had some great conversations about people wanting to get on that bus?
Yeah, I mean, amazing conversation in the first 7 days, and Outcast such a great sort of starting piece for us, and we've met the guys at Outcast, and the thing that you learn, it's not just about the sponsor of a club. They're really a part of the journey, and that was the big thing that we took away, and every sponsor is important to us. And that's why Zach and I are trying to change this piece of how sponsors actually interact with us, because they're an important part of the journey. And I don't mind listening to them. You know, a lot of our sponsors are truly passionate about the Raw. They're not just doing it as a marketing piece, but you know, it's because they genuinely support what we're trying to push forward. So the sponsors are extremely important to us, but the conversations we had thus far, I mean, it's inspiring for us because we see that there is such immense support, but everyone, not only the sponsors, the fans, everyone's just been crying out for a direction and to get the club back on a certain track. So, you know, we've been doing everything we can to get across the board with all sponsors, with all potential sponsors. And these conversations are going to be ongoing, and it's not going to stop. It's not about a seasonal approach. It's not about, you know, it's about, like we said, it's who wants to come on this journey with us. Get yourself ready. We're here. Zach and I are willing to listen, and we're willing to talk to anyone. So, you know, this will evolve, but we feel that sponsors play a big role in the whole sort of package of where the club is going to go. But, you know, like Outcast, I mean, that's a long-term partnership of people that are passionate about developing the game. And that's a genuine, you know, interest, genuine passion. And that's what we like to see. And that's why, if we can, and where it's possible, we feel that the club needs to align with sponsors and other stakeholders or commercial partners that also are aligned in their journey. So, you know, things like, where can we build strategic partnerships globally for the Raw? And it may not just be a football partnership, but a commercial partnership. But these things are all, you know, these ideas that we're starting to have these conversations so early on in the piece. But I think as things evolve, you know, hopefully we can start announcing some of these bigger partnership strategies and sponsorship strategies as well.
You've definitely hit the ground running 7 days in. How are you both feeling?
We're ready to go, Hinksy.
Yeah.
Mate, I'm at 6:50 p.m. My marketing manager's sitting there waiting with me. Mate, we love this. This is like I said, this is not a job to us. And our intention is genuine. We are here to put Brisbane Roar back on the map. We are here to create a sustainable club that is here for long past Kaz and I. And we said this in the team meeting the other day, is that everyone is replaceable. And to make sure that when you leave this organization, that you leave it in a better place than when you started. And that's the legacy and the journey that we're on now as a fresh management team, with a you know, a really strong administration with a great football club. We want to go on this journey, and that's why we keep saying get on the bus, because you know, we're excited to get moving.
Can we actually get an orange bus?
Hinksy, if anyone can, you can.
Leave it with me. Look, I am so excited about what's coming for the Raw. I've been around this club a long time, and I'm passionate about this club. I love all aspects of it, and I am so excited to see what you guys, have already brought to the club in the first 7 days, but what's coming for the future. So thank you so much for having a chat, being present, available, and transparent. Particularly from the fans. We are really, as a fan, really looking forward to seeing what you guys bring to the club.
Thanks, Hinksy.
Thanks, Hinksy. We can't wait as well. And just on that last point with the fans, you know, we're going to be doing as many of these chats as possible. And I know that some fans have been asking for the fan forum, so we're just finding the right dates, and bear with us. But we will be
Women's
doing
World Cup. Women's World Cup's throwing a few curveballs, because we need to work around it. But yeah,
we will be present. But thanks, Hinksy, for having us on.
No, mate, both of you, I really am privileged to be able to, have this relationship already 7 days in with both of you, and I think the fans will absolutely appreciate it as well. So thank you both.
We'll see you next week, Hinksy.
I'll see you then.
Mate. See you, mate.
See you guys.
Yeah.